We live in a world obsessed with flawlessness. Airbrushed bodies, curated feeds, smiling faces with sparkling eyes and white teeth. We are sold the dream of a perfect life like it is a product on a shelf. And we buy it. We chase it. We believe in it like it's a religion. Perfection, happiness, fulfillment. The holy trinity of modern existence. But behind the polished surface, behind the filters and affirmations, there's a question most are too afraid to ask. What if it is all a lie? Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of sorrow, saw through this glittering illusion long before it was wrapped in pixels and hashtags. He didn't dress his truth in soft language. He ripped the mask off reality and made us stare into its raw, unfiltered face. He called life a pendulum, swinging endlessly between pain and boredom. No fairy tale, no promised land. Just the restless hunger of desire and the cold emptiness that follows when we finally get what we thought we wanted. And maybe you felt it, that creeping sense of hollowness after a goal is achieved. You land the job, you buy the thing, you get the applause. But something inside still feels starved. The world told you this would be the moment you'd feel whole, complete. But it never comes, does it? Because perfection isn't just unattainable. It's a mirage. The closer you get, the more it recedes. And happiness, the kind you're sold, is just the bait to keep you running. Schopenhauer understood what most refuse to admit. We are not rational beings chasing truth. We are desperate animals chasing relief from suffering. Our minds are machines of wanting. Not because we are broken, but because existence itself is a wound that never fully heals. Every desire is born from a sense of lack, and every satisfaction is short-lived, like a firework fading into smoke. What's left behind is the same gnawing hunger, over and over again. We are taught to believe we're just one decision away from bliss. One more self-help book, one more promotion, one more relationship, and finally, the pieces will fall into place. But perfection is not a destination. It's a trap, a psychological seduction. It tells you that if you're not happy yet, it's because you're not enough, not productive enough, not spiritual enough, not attractive enough. It dangles peace like a prize behind the next improvement. But no matter how many layers you add, it never completes you. Because there is no end to the self that wants more. Imagine standing in front of a painting that promises to be finished in just one more stroke, then one more, and one more. That's the portrait of modern happiness. We are all trapped in the workshop of a masterpiece that never ends, staring at a canvas that never satisfies. And society claps us on the back and says, "Keep painting, you're almost there." But what if the lie is not in the struggle, but in the idea that we were ever meant to arrive? Schopenhauer didn't hate life. He simply refused to lie about it. He looked into the abyss and said, "This is the nature of things." And strangely, in his brutal honesty, there is a kind of freedom. Because when you let go of the myth of perfection, you stop running. You stop measuring yourself by impossible standards. You see that the itch of desire is not something to be cured, it is the essence of being alive. And maybe, just maybe, there's a deeper kind of peace that comes not from getting what you want, but from understanding why you want it in the first place. We are not broken for feeling restless. We are not failures because happiness slips through our fingers. That is the human condition. That is the truth the world doesn't sell because it can't be packaged, monetized, or sold back to you in a 6-week course. But it can be lived, if you dare to face it. The architects of our culture, marketers, influencers, self-help prophets, they don't want you to pause and reflect. They need you restless. They need you reaching, because a contented human doesn't consume, a peaceful mind doesn't click. So the world spins its web of promises that perfection is not only possible, but required. You must optimize every aspect of yourself, your body, your mind, your relationships, your morning routine. If you're not thriving, you're doing something wrong. If you're not happy, it must be your mindset. They whisper, "You just haven't unlocked your potential yet." But what if the key they sold you was made for a door that doesn't exist? Schopenhauer dared to say what most wouldn't doubt. that suffering is not a glitch in the system, it is the system. Existence itself is a cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. We crave love, success, admiration, not because these things are inherently meaningful, but because the emptiness inside us begs to be filled. And yet, as soon as one craving is quenched, another takes its place. There is no final satisfaction, no full arrival. Life is not a ladder, it is a wheel, and that wheel turns with or without your consent. This isn't pessimism, this is liberation. Because once you stop believing in the lie of linear progress, of permanent happiness, you stop blaming yourself for being human. You begin to see that the pain, the confusion, the longing, these aren't signs of failure. They are signs of life. To want is to live. To ache is to be awake. And in that ache, in that raw vulnerability, there's something real, something no filter can touch. We are drowning in artificial highs, quick dopamine hits masquerading as joy, validation in the form of hearts and shares, our worth reduced to metrics, our inner world outsourced to algorithms. We're taught to suppress discomfort, to silence doubt, to turn every flaw into a project. But Schopenhauer knew real peace isn't found in editing reality. It's found in seeing it, unmasked. In accepting that no amount of affirmation will silence the quiet fear inside that says, "Is this all there is?" Yes, that might be all there is, and that's okay. The pursuit of perfection is not just a trap, it's a form of violence. A violence we do to ourselves, in the name of becoming better. We mutilate the present moment trying to sculpt a flawless future. We grind ourselves into ash, chasing an identity that is always one step ahead. We become performers on a stage we didn't build, reading lines we didn't write, smiling through teeth that ache from clenching. And the audience applauds, not knowing that behind the curtain, we are screaming. What if we put down the script? What if we stopped performing happiness and started confronting the chaos beneath it? Not to fix it, not to conquer it, but to witness it, to sit with it like an old friend who has come bearing truth instead of comfort. Schopenhauer didn't tell us to wallow, he told us to see. And in that seeing, there's a defiance, a quiet strength, a refusal to be deceived. Because once you accept the inherent imperfection of life, you no longer live in resistance to it. You begin to touch something deeper than pleasure. You begin to sense the sacred in the imperfect, the eternal in the fleeting, the sublime in the broken. And from that place, the need for constant happiness dissolves. What rises in its place is something far more powerful: clarity. Clarity that no perfect body, no perfect partner, no perfect job will ever save you from the experience of being human. Clarity that the wound is not a mistake, it is the gateway. And through it, we glimpse something real, something raw, something honest enough to hold. There's a silence that comes when you stop chasing, not a silence of defeat, but of arrival. A stillness that says, "This is enough. I am enough, even in my pain, especially in my pain." The world may not reward this stillness. It may not go viral, but it is the beginning of freedom. Not the freedom to escape suffering, but the freedom to stop needing to escape it. And yet, even with this clarity, this stillness, we are not promised ease. The world still spins, the noise still screams, and the desire to run, to improve, to fix, still whispers from the shadows. You will still be tempted by the mirage, the vision of a life without mess, without ache, without cracks, a life of golden light and perfect peace. But now you will know. That image is not a destination, it is a sedative. A digital lullaby meant to keep you numb. Schopenhauer gave us no fantasies. He offered no glossy affirmations. He spoke to the part of you that aches in silence, the part that feels alien in a world of endless cheerfulness. He gave us a mirror, not a mask. And when you stare into it long enough, you begin to see not just your suffering, but your strength. Not the strength to overcome life, but to endure it, to stand in its storm and not flinch, to hold its contradictions in your chest and not collapse. Because the goal is not to transcend your humanity. The goal is to finally live it. Not the sanitized version of life, the version that fits neatly into reels and timelines, but the full, untamed, chaotic realness of it, the grief and the laughter, the yearning and the silence, the nights that stretch forever, and the mornings that break your heart with their beauty. This is the richness Schopenhauer pointed to, not in spite of the pain, but through it. Because to feel deeply, even the sorrow, is to be awake, and to be awake fully is the closest thing to truth we may ever touch. Perfection is a lie, a seductive, sterile fantasy that steals the soul of the present moment. But imperfection, raw, aching, alive, is the soil where something greater grows. Not the glittering happiness we are told to want, but the hard-earned peace that comes when we stop fleeing our shadows and begin to walk with them. That kind of peace cannot be marketed. It cannot be monetized. It lives outside the reach of commerce and competition. It is found in the quiet recognition that nothing needs to be added to this moment for it to be real. You do not need to be fixed. You do not need to be improved. You do not need to become anything other than what you already are. A flicker of consciousness in a world that doesn't owe you meaning, but still offers you presence, still offers you breath, still offers you the grace of being here for however long you are. And that is enough. Enough to create, enough to love, enough to break and rebuild and break again. Enough to step off the treadmill of always becoming and simply exist. Yes, the ache may always be there, the longing, the emptiness, but it no longer owns you, because you see it now not as a flaw, but as part of the design. You don't fight it. You listen to it. You carry it like a secret that only the truly alive understand. Schopenhauer's voice echoes across centuries not because he taught us how to be happy, but because he showed us how to live without needing to be. He tore away the illusion and in its place left a truth far more durable than joy. Awareness. Not of what should be, but of what is. And that awareness, born not from delusion, but from raw presence, is where real strength begins. So let the world keep selling its illusions. Let it keep dressing wounds in gold. You, now, know better. You've looked behind the curtain. You've stared into the abyss and found yourself not destroyed, but awake. Awake to the lie. Awake to the truth. Awake to the strange, fierce beauty of a life that never promised you perfection and doesn't need to. Because in the end, it's not about being unbroken. It's about being whole, even in your cracks. It's not about being constantly happy. It's about being deeply here, regardless of the storm. And when you no longer chase perfection, you don't fall short of life, you finally meet it, face to face. This is Schopenhauer's gift. Not comfort, not hope, but reality, in its harshest and most honest form. And when you embrace that reality, not just with your mind, but with your spirit, you will find, buried beneath all the noise, a freedom you never knew existed. A freedom that doesn't sparkle, it burns. Let it.